The letter trembled in Ellen's hands as she read the words that would change everything. What started as her regular Tuesday show was about to become the most heartbreaking and beautiful story of a mother's love, transcending death itself. 35-year-old Sarah Johnson sat in the front row of Ellen's studio, her frail frame wrapped in a colorful scarf that couldn't hide the toll that terminal cancer had taken on her body. Beside her sat 8-year-old Tommy, her son, who kept glancing at his mother with the protective instincts of a child who had learned too young that life was fragile. Behind them sat Sarah's sister, Maria, who had driven them from Phoenix after Sarah had insisted on making this journey, despite her doctor's concerns and her own physical weakness. She'd written to Ellen's show 3 weeks ago, and the response had given her something she thought she'd lost forever: hope for her son's future. Ellen was in the middle of her opening monologue when she noticed Sarah in the audience, immediately struck by the woman's obvious illness and the way she held her son's hand. "I have someone very special in our audience today," Ellen said, walking toward their section. Sarah's face lit up despite her exhaustion, her eyes filling with tears at being acknowledged by someone she'd watched for years during her treatments. "Ellen, thank you for having us here." Ellen knelt down beside Sarah's chair, sensing immediately that this was no ordinary audience member, and that something profound was about to unfold. "Sarah, you wrote me a letter that I haven't been able to stop thinking about." Tommy looked between his mother and Ellen with curiosity, unaware of the conversation that was about to unfold and change his understanding of everything. "What did Mommy write about?" Ellen's voice caught slightly as she prepared to address something she'd never faced on her show before, the weight of the situation evident in her tone. "Tommy, your mom wrote to tell me about something very important." Sarah squeezed her son's hand gently, knowing this moment would change his understanding of their situation forever and alter the course of his young life. "Tommy, remember how we talked about Mommy being sick? You said the doctors are helping you get better." Tommy replied with the innocent faith that only children possess, his trust absolute. "You're going to be okay, right, Mommy?" Ellen felt her heart breaking as she realized Tommy didn't fully understand his mother's condition or the gravity of what they were facing as a family. "Sarah, would you like to explain what you told me in your letter?" Sarah took a deep breath, gathering strength for the hardest conversation any parent could have with their child, drawing on reserves of courage she didn't know she possessed. "Tommy, the doctors have told Mommy that my sickness is very serious." "How serious?" Tommy asked, his voice becoming smaller as he sensed something was wrong with the adults around him. "Are you going to have to stay in the hospital longer?" Ellen watched this exchange with tears forming in her eyes, understanding she was witnessing a mother's attempt to prepare her child for the unthinkable with grace and love. Sarah looked at Ellen for support before continuing. "Sweetheart, the doctors say that Mommy might not get better this time," Sarah said as gently as possible, each word carefully chosen to minimize his pain. "They think I might have to go to heaven soon." Tommy's face crumpled as he processed what his mother was telling him, his world suddenly shifting beneath his feet. "But I don't want you to go to heaven. I want you to stay with me." Sarah pulled her son close, her own tears flowing freely as she held the most precious thing in her world, knowing their time together was measured in months. "I don't want to leave you either, baby, but sometimes we don't get to choose." Ellen stood up slowly, overwhelmed by the courage this mother was showing in the face of impossible circumstances and her own terminal diagnosis. "Sarah, in your letter, you mentioned something about wanting to prepare Tommy." "I have maybe 6 months left," Sarah said, her voice steady despite her tears and the devastating reality of her prognosis. "I want to use that time to teach Tommy how to be strong without me." "The doctors were very specific about the timeline," Sarah continued, her voice gaining strength as she spoke about her mission. 6 months to give him everything he'll need to face the world alone." Tommy looked up at his mother with confusion and fear written across his young face, trying to process information that was too big for his small heart. "How can I be strong without my Mommy?" Ellen felt compelled to sit down on the floor beside them, abandoning all television protocol for this sacred moment between mother and son. "Tommy, what has your mom already taught you about being strong?" "She taught me to always tell the truth," Tommy said thoughtfully, wiping his eyes with the back of his small hand, "and to help people when they're sad." Sarah smiled through her tears, proud of her son's wisdom and the values she'd already instilled in him during their time together. And what else, sweetheart? To never give up even when things are scary, Tommy added, unknowingly demonstrating the strength his mother had been building in him through every challenge they'd faced. And to remember that love never dies. Ellen was moved by this 8-year-old's profound understanding of concepts that challenged most adults, recognizing the exceptional parenting that had shaped him. Sarah, what else do you want Tommy to know? I want him to know that even when I'm not here anymore, I'll still be loving him every single day, Sarah replied, her voice breaking with emotion. I want him to feel safe and protected even after I'm gone. I also want him to know that crying is okay, Sarah added, understanding the importance of emotional honesty in grief. Missing me will be natural, and he should never feel ashamed of his feelings. Ellen walked to her desk, her mind racing with ways to help this family navigate the impossible journey ahead of them. Sarah, what would help you feel at peace about Tommy's future? I worry about him being alone, Sarah admitted, voicing her deepest fear as a dying mother. My sister Maria will take care of him, but I want him to have opportunities I can't give him. I want him to go to college, Sarah continued, her voice filled with dreams she wouldn't live to see fulfilled. I want him to have choices and chances that my illness has taken away from our family. Ellen picked up her phone, making a decision that would transform Tommy's future in ways Sarah could never have imagined. Sarah, I want to make some calls, if that's okay with you. For the next several minutes, Ellen conducted phone conversations on live television, calling her foundation, educational contacts, and family services with unprecedented urgency. The studio watched in fascination as she advocated passionately for Tommy's needs. Sarah, Tommy, Ellen announced after her calls, I've arranged something that I hope will give you both peace. She walked back to them carrying a large envelope. Tommy, this contains information about a full college scholarship fund that will cover your education from now through university, Ellen explained with obvious satisfaction. You'll never have to worry about being able to go to school. Sarah gasped audibly, overwhelmed by the generosity and what it meant for her son's future and the dreams she'd feared he'd never achieve. Ellen, how can we ever thank you? But there's more, Ellen continued, clearly emotional about what she was sharing and the comprehensive support she was providing. I've also arranged for a loving family who wants to welcome Tommy when the time comes. Tommy looked confused by the adult conversations happening around him, trying to understand what these arrangements meant for his life. What does that mean, Ellen? Ellen knelt down to Tommy's level, speaking directly to him with the respect due to someone facing an impossible situation despite his young age. It means you'll have people who love you and want to take care of you, just like your mommy does. Will they love me like mommy does? Tommy asked with the heartbreaking honesty of a child facing loss beyond his comprehension. Because nobody loves me like my mommy. Ellen felt tears streaming down her face as she answered, understanding the impossibility of replacing a mother's love. They'll love you differently, but just as much because your mommy has shown them how special you are. Sarah reached out and took Ellen's hand, overwhelmed with gratitude for the security being provided for her son's future. You've given me the greatest gift possible, knowing that Tommy will be safe and loved. Ellen stood up, addressing the audience directly about what they were witnessing and the profound love being displayed before them. Ladies and gentlemen, we're seeing something extraordinary here, a mother's love that's preparing to transcend death itself. She walked back to her desk and returned with a video camera, having conceived an idea that would preserve Sarah's presence for her son's future. Sarah, I want to help you create something for Tommy that he can keep forever. What kind of something? Sarah asked, intrigued by Ellen's suggestion and hopeful about leaving something lasting for her son. I want to help you record messages for Tommy's future, for his birthdays, graduation, wedding day, all the moments you won't be able to share with him. Sarah's eyes lit up with excitement at the possibility of being present for her son's future milestones in some meaningful way. You would help me do that? We're going to create a video library, Ellen announced, so Tommy will always be able to hear his mother's voice and feel her love. The audience was openly crying as they understood the profound gift Ellen was offering. Ellen set up the camera and encouraged Sarah to speak directly to her son's future, creating a bridge across time and death. Tommy, this is for when you turn 16 and get your driver's license. Sarah looked into the camera with all the love a mother could hold, her voice strong despite her physical weakness. My brave boy, I'm so proud of the young man you're becoming, and I know you'll be a safe and responsible driver. This one is for your high school graduation, Ellen prompted, understanding the importance of these moments in a young person's development. Sarah's message was filled with pride and encouragement for achievements she wouldn't witness. Tommy watched in fascination as his mother spoke to his future self, beginning to understand that love could exist across time and space. Mommy, will you really be talking to me when I'm big? Every day, sweetheart, Sarah promised, her voice filled with certainty about the enduring nature of their bond. These videos will let me celebrate all your special moments with you. Ellen helped Sarah record over a dozen messages covering major life events and ordinary moments of encouragement that every child needs from their mother. Each video was a gift of presence that would extend far beyond Sarah's physical life. As the taping continued, Ellen learned more about Sarah's journey and her determination to use her remaining time purposefully rather than succumbing to despair. She'd been fighting cancer for 2 years, initially responding well to treatment before receiving the terminal diagnosis 3 months ago. The hardest part isn't dying, Sarah explained to Ellen, with remarkable clarity and wisdom born from facing mortality. The hardest part is leaving Tommy without all the guidance and love I wanted to give him. Ellen was struck by Sarah's selflessness and her focus on her son's needs rather than her own fear of death. Sarah, what do you want people to know about what you're going through? I want them to know that love is the only thing that really matters. Sarah replied with conviction earned through facing the ultimate test. Everything else, money, success, possessions, means nothing compared to the love we share with the people who matter to us. Ellen arranged for Sarah and Tommy to have ongoing support through her foundation's Family Services program throughout Sarah's remaining time. The organization would provide counseling, educational support, and practical assistance during Sarah's remaining time and Tommy's transition. But Ellen had one more surprise that would honor Sarah's legacy in a permanent way and ensure her story would help others. Sarah, I want to establish something in your name. She walked to her desk and returned with official documents that would formalize Sarah's lasting impact on the world. The Sarah Johnson Mother's Love Foundation will help other families facing similar situations. Sarah was overwhelmed by the honor and the knowledge that her experience would help other families navigate similar impossible circumstances. My name on a foundation? The foundation will provide support for single mothers with terminal illnesses and their children, Ellen explained, outlining the comprehensive assistance that would be provided. Your story will help families across the country. As the show reached its conclusion, Ellen reflected on what Sarah had taught everyone about priorities and love in the face of mortality. Sarah has shown us that even in the face of death, a mother's love finds ways to protect and nurture her child. Ellen's closing words that day became the foundation's motto. Love is the bridge that connects hearts across any distance, even death itself. The video messages became a model for other families, helping parents leave lasting legacies of love. 3 months later, Sarah passed away peacefully in her sleep, surrounded by family and the knowledge that Tommy's future was secure and filled with love. Her video messages became Tommy's most treasured possessions, helping him feel connected to his mother during the difficult transition. Tommy was welcomed into a loving family who honored Sarah's memory and parenting philosophy with deep respect and commitment. They played her videos on special occasions and helped Tommy understand that he carried his mother's love with him always. The foundation Sarah had inspired grew to serve hundreds of families, providing practical support and emotional guidance during impossible circumstances. Her legacy lived on in every family that received help and hope during their darkest hours. Ellen kept a photo from that day on her desk, Sarah and Tommy embracing, both smiling despite their circumstances. It served as a daily reminder that love truly is stronger than death, and that sometimes the most profound acts of courage happen in the face of impossible loss. Because a mother's love doesn't end with death, it transforms into something eternal that guides and protects long after physical presence has ended. Sarah Johnson had proven that love is indeed the most powerful force in the universe,